What we're talking about today is the difference between assessments and training, specifically to how I'm training fitness-wise towards the shooting sport of the tactical games. So an assessment is pretty simple to define. It is a way to assess your physical capability, again, in relation to fitness, and training is how you're going to train to improve upon that assessment. So it's a pretty simple topic of conversation today, but what I want to do is give you guys an example of an assessment and then give you guys an example of training and even an example of how to implement both if you're someone like me who is limited on their time when it comes to training. If you're training to improve your fitness, you should be training to improve on something very specific within your fitness. So there's a lot of different things to train for in fitness. So like we've defined earlier, we have 4 main pillars of fitness. We have speed, strength, capacity, and mobility. So if I want to improve upon one of those 4 things, I should be training for one of those 4 things specifically. Now, when it comes down to training for a sport like the tactical games where you need to be that quote-unquote hybrid athlete where I need to be good at basically all 4 of those things, that means my training is going to be broken up into cycles. So throughout the year, I'll probably have a 3 to 4 month cycle at a time, and those cycles will be focused on one of those 4 pillars of fitness. Now, as of the making of this video, we are 1 week out from competing in the national championships for the tactical games. So that means today is actually the last day of my final cycle. So the final cycle was actually focused on the capacity side of things. So that means it was a lot of metabolic conditioning that involved moving heavy weights while under duress. So basically that means I had to run with a lot of weights or carry a lot heavy weights for long distances and stuff like that. So we were implementing both the speed side of things, the strength side of things to improve upon our capacity, which again is our ability to move our 80 to 90% very efficiently. So one of the 3 assessments of this cycle when it comes down to improving capacity was an 800-meter run in kit for time. So this is a shorter run. However, in relation to the tactical games, again, we're training for those interval type workouts. We're training for those short bursts that we can sustain for long periods of time. So I'm going to do a short burst, rest. That's kind of the breakdown of how the tactical games competitions go. So what we're going to do today is we're actually going to reevaluate my baseline, which I did 12 weeks ago. And 12 weeks ago, I ran a 258 in full kit. I don't know if I'm going to beat that today because that was very spicy of a run, and we're running on some different terrain today, but no excuses. We're just going to put out and see how we do. And then right after that assessment, we're going to go into a tactical game stage. So like I said, if you're someone like me, you're limited on your time to train. Sometimes you have to be efficient with your time. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit the baseline. We're going to take a 1-to-1 rest ratio. So I expect about a 3-minute time on the run. So I'm going to take a 3-minute rest. And then we're going to go into a tactical game stage, which is part of the training. So the training we're going to do right after the assessment today is going to be focused on still building that capacity, even though we're finishing up the cycle. So what the stage is going to look like today is going to be a 1 minute on, 1 minute off of work and shooting. And this is going to go on for 16 minutes. So I'm going to be working for 8 minutes and shooting for 8 minutes. And it's probably going to suck really bad. I'm going to be honest. I'm probably going to really regret doing this one today. But what we got is an 80-pound sandbag here on the ground. We got a 24-inch box. So in the 1 minute of work, I'm going to do max step overs with the 80-pound sandbag on my back, wearing full kit. And then during my 1 minute rest, I have to shoot 10 rounds of rifle or pistol. I'm going to alternate either or. And we're going to do that for 8 total rounds. So with the rifle, I got a 25-yard target. I'm going to do standing freestyle with the rifle. And then the pistol, I have a 10-yard target, shooting standing freestyle. The target size on both of those targets are about 2 by 4 inch rectangles that are angled, and they are basically a head box angled. So now that we know what we're doing today, let's go ahead and get into the assessment, which is going to be kind of our buy-in to the workout that we're going to do today. And then we'll get into the tactical game stage and debrief how it goes. So let's do it. 3, 2, 1, go. That's all I had. 257. 1 second.
Why do I do this to myself? That was not the most fun thing I've ever done.
So the assessment, I looked at my watch, is actually 2:54 on the half mile, 800 meter run, which is really good. That is a 6 second improvement, or 5 second improvement from my baseline test. And we had a very abrupt turnaround, so I had to basically stop and then come back at the halfway point. So that slowed me down a little bit. So I'm actually really happy with how that went. Plus, that was a little bit elevated and some terrain. So all to say, over the 12 weeks, I'm happy with that improvement. But here's the pistol target. So again, 10 yards. These are about 2 inches by 4 inches. We dropped 5 pistol shots. So this is for shooting with both hands. This is an easy target. I probably should have dropped any, but you know, as we go, you know I suck at shooting. So let's look at the rifle target. So with, again, with assessments, right? So assessments are for assessing where you're at. So if you're gonna be doing assessments, you should be doing them at the beginning of your training and then doing that assessment again at the end once you're done your training. So your training should be specific toward what you're trying to assess yourself on. So if I'm assessing myself in the beginning of my training cycle for speed, my training should be developed to improve my speed. So when I reassess my assessment, I should see improvement or decline based on how well I trained, et cetera, et cetera. So here's the rifle target. We dropped 6, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is actually a pretty normal target for a rifle, 25 meters, 2x4, standing freestyle, under duress. This is pretty moderate. Could do better for sure, but I'm actually pretty okay with the hits here. This is all timing, so I'm just timing my breathing, timing my heart rate, and that's what I got. So hope you guys got something out of this. Again, if you are trying to improve your fitness, whether it's for the tactical games or for just being a prepared citizen, make sure you're training for something specific. And I highly recommend training for one of the 4 pillars of fitness like we already talked about, and then developing an assessment or getting an assessment from someone that will evaluate you on where you're at in one of those 4 pillars. So again, if you're training for strength, do an assessment that assesses your strength, focus your training on improving your strength, and then at the end of that training cycle, reassess yourself and see how you did. So again, hope you guys got something out of this. I appreciate you guys watching. Until next time, this is Brandon from TREX.